So in some ways you're looking towards the future in a positive way now.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think's helped you come to that sense of positive outlook?
Oh, the care really, and then you see other people. I mean, I can't help it, but when you go down to oncology,
Yeah.
you see people much worse than you are yourself, and you're willing yourself to help them, and you feel sorry for them, and you actually have a little tear, you know. But
what's your reaction to seeing people who are more unwell? Do you feel that in some ways that can help you, or do you feel afraid you might be in the future in that position?
Well, I am afraid I might be in that position, but I've also had to look after my mum and my brother who had cancer, and I had a daughter who died with cancer, and probably this is amounted to a certain fear that you do know what's.
Well, you've had a lot of experience with cancer. Can you tell people what your family members suffered, particularly your daughter?
My daughter suffered stomach cancer. She was 37, and apparently it was a rare form of stomach cancer, and in the end it just spread all over and she died. But it was a blessing because she was really suffering.
How long did it take, all that process, because she had the cancer very young?
Yes, I'd say she went to hospital for a year, and they kept saying nothing was wrong, and then she wanted a scan, and they gave her the scan, and that's where she got diagnosed. But she had the Macmillan people in, very, very good. She had very good care.
How long did she manage to fight the cancer for?
About a year. Yeah.
And your brother, I think you said?
Yeah, my brother, bless him, he was an ambulance driver, big strapping man, different to me, 6'2", 15 stone, and he used to do a lot for charity, cancer charity, baby unit charity. And I got a phone call one morning, and it was one of his neighbours asking me to go up because he couldn't breathe. So I left everything, went up, and apparently he'd been doing a charity boat race thing. And oddly enough, I never knew it, but he couldn't swim, and he ended up in the river. And as time went by, he was getting unwell, and he also went for tests, and they told him he'd got lung cancer. Well, I wanted to be with him when they told him, but that didn't happen, and he sort of hated everybody after that. But eventually he turned the opposite way, you know. But the care he got was good. I mean, the ambulance staff and everything, they used to come round to my house and look after him while I had a little bit of free time.
Did you feel that you were able to spend some quality time with him after he was diagnosed?
Yeah, yeah. But the only upsetting part about that was I wasn't there with him when he died. No, we were very, very close.
I'm sure he did appreciate you having been around and, you know, giving that support.
Because he wasn't my blood brother as such, because I was adopted when I was a child. So, but we were like real mates.
And I think you also mentioned one other person. I think you said
my mum, my adopted mum. Yeah. Well, that was many, many years ago, before me and everything new, as you get now, came out. And where you had to pay, we had to ask if we could go and see a doctor, a private doctor.
Was this before the NHS came along?
No. And we went up to see, eventually we got a letter and you had to pay then. And we went to see a doctor up there at Stonygate Way. And after he'd seen my mum, he called my brother in, and he said that he wanted my mum to go into hospital to do some tests. Anyway, she went into hospital and we went in to see her, and she said quite casually, "I've got to have my breast off." Of course, I was fighting back tears, trying to not let my mum see, you know. And it went from there, and she had her operation. The day she had her operation, we went in and she was wide awake. The doctor came, "Can you put your head up, your arm up?" She lifted her arm up, and she never ever did. She wasn't told that she had cancer. And I think really if she had been told, although I think deep down she knew, she wouldn't have lived for another 10 years.
That's really amazing, because in those days often the information, the core diagnosis, wasn't revealed to the patient.
No.
Often what they did was to tell a relative.
To first, yeah.
And then decide whether to tell.
We never did tell my mum. But we think that she knew anyway.
So the family knew, but she didn't know.
No.
At least she wasn't told. Whether she knew deep down. Most people would imagine if you then have to go for the treatments and everything, you would eventually find.
She didn't have radium. All she had was treatment in tablet form. And she had 10 more years, extra years.
I wonder what they used to tell her the tablets were for.
I don't know.
That always intrigues me back in those days.
That's
when we hear that story.
And she lived for another 10 years, and then she got secondary cancer and she passed away, which was a blessing. But her care was, in those days, I think that was good.
What do you think overall of the care given to people then and now?
Well, I think different people come across with different things, different treatments and what have you, you know. So I can only really comment on my treatment, to my brother's treatment, to my daughter's treatment and my mum's. But all in all, I would say to people, go to your GP, take the treatment. Of course you're going to be scared, you know, but eventually it does go away. Not entirely go away, but it does dwindle a bit.